All right, welcome everyone to another exciting episode of In the Mix with the Mitchells. I am Tony Mitchell.
And I am Sunita Mitchell.
And we are the Perfect Family Blend, where it's our mission to build, nurture, and keep blended families together. Tonight we have an awesome show on tonight where we're going to talk about communities and resources. But first, we got a couple of announcements that we want to make.
Well, absolutely. So we are 2 weeks away from our nonprofit's 1 year celebration. We still have a few tickets left. And when I say that God has just been blessing this entire event, we wanted to make sure that, God has just really have been providing in every aspect of the way to make sure that this event goes off basically without a hitch.
Exactly. I am so pumped up. Today we got some more packages in.
Yes.
And oh my goodness. I'm telling you, it's one thing to see the vision and you're talking about the vision and then actually see the vision being executed and see the actual products that you could touch and feel. I mean, and the most important thing about this is these are things that are going to bless so many people. So that makes it even more exciting because we're giving to the community.
Yes, it's all about the community. It's all about giving back. It's all about helping people at a really low time in their life, right? So, again, the event is going to take place on April 27th at the Mercy Grace Center, which is located on Bright Sea Road in Landover, Maryland. The tickets are $45. Each ticket blah, blah, blah. Each ticket, some of the proceeds from each ticket will go towards our goal of being able to send a cuddle cot to a local hospital.
Yes.
And so we are just truly excited to be able to bless the people.
What is a cuddle cot?
So a cuddle cot is a cot that hospitals, or not really just for hospitals, it's for if you're a midwife, if you're a doula, and someone loses a child. The cuddle cot is just that. It's a cot. It looks like a bassinet. And it has a refrigeration system. It's kind of like has a system like a refrigerator, which keeps the baby's body cool so that it preserves the body and that parents, family members have more time with their baby.
Right.
We know that not every hospital has the capability to be able to have the baby remain in the room with the parents after loss. So some people, either they don't get to see their baby at all,
right,
or they only get like a few moments before the baby is taken and they not see their baby anymore. So that was very important with us. And we're just excited. Really, we have a diverse group of people who are going to be there. We have people who have gone through loss. We have people who have gone through fertility challenges. So they're going to be there to really uplift and encourage families, because that's what this is all about. And we have our special guests. They'll be fluttering in soon, and I can't wait for them to arrive because it's really all about Anaya's project and giving back to the community. But it's also our opportunity to always remember the angel babies.
Yes.
So there'll be a certain part of the program where we're going to honor all of the angel babies. And so that's going to be a very special moment because for those of you who may not know, Anaya was actually born on April 26, 2010. So this is our way of, one, keeping her memory alive, but also moving beyond just our experience and, again, giving back to the community. So you guys are going to be a part of our celebration as we remember her and celebrate her and how she's impacted our life. So you can get tickets at eventbrite.com, or you can go to bit.ly, Anaya's Project Celebration, and purchase the tickets. Listen, if you cannot attend but you would love to give towards this effort, you can Cash App us at Anaya's Project. You can Givelify. At Givelify, Anaya's Project is there. So there's, go to our website. There's PayPal there. You can use PayPal if you want to, or other methods of payment. We accept it all.
Yes.
So we look forward to seeing you on April 27th. And again, if you have any questions, you can always email us at info at anayasproject.org, and we will get back to you as soon as possible.
Wow, that is just awesome.
Can you believe it's been 9 years?
It's been 9 years.
9 years.
She would have been 9 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And, even talking with one of the fathers earlier this week that's going to be a participant that's going to volunteer his services for the event, just talking with him, and one of the things that we said is when you lose a child, you don't get over it, but you learn how to cope, and you find different ways to cope with the loss.
Right.
Each year you become a little bit stronger, but then it also provides a year of reflection. You always come to that point of what would she be doing right now, or
right.
Hey, she'll be in the second grade right now, first or second grade.
Yeah, first, second, maybe third.
Yeah, maybe third, and. How would she look, and how would she act? And I just look at our daughter now, and then I just wonder, will she have the same personality?
Right, of Ari or Sam,
right.
Like what would she look like? And that's why it's so important to remember. That's why it's so important to have an organization such as Anaya's Project to bring that type of support to the community, because some people feel a little weird. Like this week was actually they're working on a Say My Name campaign, or say their name, right? Because a lot of times people feel awkward about saying their child's name.
Right.
And so that's why we'll talk about Anaya like she's here. You know what I mean? Like, we won't forget the birthday. We won't ever forget her birthday. We won't ever not mention her. I mean, even our youngest children know Anaya.
Exactly.
Like, they talk about her like, they actually met her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
they always talk about their sister in heaven.
Their sister in heaven. So, and Anaya. Right? And so it's important to never forget. I mean, we wouldn't forget about our mom. We wouldn't forget about a grandmother. We wouldn't forget about an aunt. So we definitely won't forget a child that we birthed, or for some people who never really had a chance to, their baby never had a chance to develop, but they knew, it was a girl or a boy.
Right.
Or for some, they didn't. And so it's important to acknowledge loss. It's also important to acknowledge those people who are going through fertility challenges. I mean, it's 1 in 8. 1 in 8 people deal with fertility challenges. And some people don't feel comfortable enough to say, I'm having these problems. But when which means that we have to shift our mindset as a culture, because sometimes we're asking people questions, when you going to have a family? First, they start out with when you going to get married, right?
Right. So
you can just get married tomorrow. Just meet somebody and get married tomorrow. And then even after you get married, some people don't even get a chance to be married and enjoy being married before 2 weeks later, everybody's like, so when y'all going to have kids? Right? And so for some people, it may take a while. And don't let like a year go by or 2. People really start like, so y'all don't want no family? But you never know what people are struggling with, because maybe they did want a family, but it's just not working.
Right.
So you have to have these organizations that help support people when things don't work like we want them to. And you just need somebody to help you to just not always say anything, because sometimes you don't need to say anything. Sometimes you just need to tell your story, cry, and that's it. You don't need somebody to be like, it's okay, patting them on the back. It's just sometimes you just need to be able to share your story, share what's on your mind, and grieve, and not be pacified sometimes. Sometimes that's good. I'm not saying that we won't if you come to our support group. So there will be no support group on this 4th Saturday because will be at the celebration, so you can join us there. I am so excited.
Yes.
The DJ is gonna be there. We have Olive Garden. We have the videographer and the photographer coming.
Yes.
So there's just going to be so many things. We have Siobhan Odom. She is so pumped up and ready to come and share and encourage and empower. We have Tarina Ali, who's coming to do a spoken word.
She is awesome.
She is awesome and amazing. We have, Ministry of Dance was very important to me and Tony, because it was actually, I'll speak for me. Tony can jump in if he wants. But for Ministry of Dance was so key to my healing, right? So at our old church, me and Tony used to dance. And even before I met Tony, I was in the dance ministry. And dance ministry just was so therapeutic to me because I was able to release some things. And so when we lost Anaya and we finally went back to dance ministry, it was just very therapeutic to worship God in a whole nother way. And when we did Yes, we didn't know God was setting us up in that Shekinah Glories Yes dance, that we would, that would really bring about a breakthrough in our own grieving process, and not knowing that our yes was going to later turn into launching Anaya's project and the Perfect Family Blend and the daycare, just saying yes to God.
Yeah, I know for me too, being a part of the dance ministry right after Sunita, she already been an integral part of it. And I thought for me it was going to be like a maybe one-time thing. The men, we get up there, we dance, and then that's it. But it turned out to be several years of me actually doing the dance ministry for the men. And I can remember the two dances that really provided that breakthrough for me. One, as Anita mentioned, Dancing to Yes by Shekinah Glory. That dance was just so releasing, because I could feel the little burden. I could feel all the hurt and the pain that I kept inside myself actually being lifted off as we moved and danced. So that helped out tremendously. Then the other dance was for our pastor's anniversary. And I danced to Dear God, which was sung by Smokey Norfolk.
Yes, and Dear God, what is it?
Smokey Norfolk.
Yes, Snorky. That's a good song. So
yes, that is an excellent song. And that song in itself, that was basically me dancing with God, and me just basically saying, God, you have kept us, you have watched over us. Dear God, thank you for all that you have done. And I could just remember dancing both services, having a huge sinus infection, dancing those two services. But at the end of every dance, I blew a kiss upwards, and that was my kiss to Anaya, saying, I know you're in good hands. I know you're being taken care of. I want to let you know that Daddy loves you.
Right. And so because of that, we always will most likely always have a Ministry of Dance moment, because it's just such a powerful element, right?
Yes.
And so we will have Hezekiah Hawkins.
Yes.
Will become, oh my gosh.
Yes.
This young man,
yes,
he just had a birthday. And so he is coming, and I talked to him the other day, and he is so excited and humbled, and just listen. When I was telling him and his mom again what the day was about, he was just like, man. I mean, he's a teenager.
right.
And he's like, man, okay. Like, this is a huge assignment, right? And so, again, we are inviting you. This is not going to be, we will have our moments of silence and everything, but the remaining of the day is all going to be upbeat and uplifting, and we want you to come.
Yes, it is a celebration.
A celebration of life. So what is it?
Valerie, yes, people need to be educated about helping those that have lost a child.
Yes. It's so important, because we have to educate. And it has to come, who better to help people to know than those who have experienced. right?
Exactly.
So they won't know
Yes.
if we don't say it. Like your doctor can tell people, we can get therapists to tell people, but it's a lot different than when we say what our experience is. So, so it's important. So that is our main announcement for today. And you guys will learn all about all of the other things. I am so excited because our theme has been do everything in love, right?
Love,
and
yes.
so 1 Corinthians 16, verse 14 says do everything in love. So everything this year is about love. And so you're going to learn a whole lot of things that are in place. And we're just so excited. So
Yes.
anyway, let's move forward. So tonight we're going to be discussing community and resources.
Yes. All right. So when you think about community and resources and it pertains to the family, I always think about this old adage that my grandmother used to say. And she would say, it takes a tribe or it takes a village to raise a child. Mm-hmm. And she would say this when I was actually a child. And she kept saying it when I was growing up, and even when I got married and started to build my own family, she would constantly say, it takes a village to raise a child.
Right. So do you think in this culture today that we have a village? Is there still that village feel in our neighborhoods and community?
I think we do, but I think it's dynamic now. I think it's kind of, from a cultural standpoint, I think it's shifted. So you remember like in the 60s and 70s, excuse me, sinuses. You might have to take this.
Okay.
I might have to get out for a second. I'll be right back.
Him and those allergies. So he says that things are kind of the same. And I would say that things are not the same. Like, I think now we're very isolated. It's like we are on an island. I'm worrying about me and mine. You worry about you and yours. I remember when I was growing up and, like, I lived in, what was that street? It was Bellevue Street up in Southeast. I think that was the name of the street. But it was the South. Yeah, and so in that apartment complex, which they have now turned into townhouses, in that building, I remember my mother knew everybody. Like, she knew everybody from all the floors, all the apartments, and a few of the apartments, like, down. Like, she knew a lot of people. So when we were outside, community was Doretha, your daughter, your child, they was outside. Like, we knew, like, it was certain things that we knew we could not do because my mom had eyes everywhere, right? We in the eyes that we knew, there was eyes that we knew were on us, and then there was eyes that we did not know was on us. And so that to me is community. It was about, I remember, like, something happened at school and I thought I was going to get in trouble, right? So this community, right? So I thought I wasn't going to get in trouble because our phone was cut off. I'm just being real. Like, we didn't have this, luxurious thing. So sometimes our phone would be cut off. And so at this particular time, and it was so minute, I had kissed some boy on the playground. And my teacher was like, I'm calling your mother. And I was like, well, go ahead, because my phone cut off, right? Well, my best friend at the time, she lived in the apartment right across from me. And that was like one of the only other apartments I could ever go to, right? Because, back then your mother would be like, these are the houses you can go to. And that was it. So she was outside. And anyway, the teacher couldn't get my mom, but she called my friend Nicole's mom. And then I'm thinking, okay, fine, I'm still not in trouble. Then I was like, oh my God. And then I heard her mother at the door, and I was like, oh my God, it's Nicole's mom at the door. And then I was like, I'm gonna hurry up and go in the bathroom. And then she was like, yeah, so did Anita tell you what happened? They got in trouble today at school. My mom was like, no, she didn't mention anything. Man, by the time my mom got it, she closed that door. And I know, how many of y'all know when your mom, that walk, right, you could just tell by the way the door slammed, the way she turned around, and then I just heard the walk, right? And I knew she was coming down the hall. And my mom was she was the punisher, right? She was the whooper. She whipped you for everything, right? My dad was more the talk person, right? But I knew when she came, I knew I was going to get in trouble. She said, oh, you wasn't going to tell me, blah, 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 blah. And I did. I got a spanking. But that's community. It's like watching out for each other. And even telling, I felt like, yeah, they told on me. But still, that's community. It's when we're sharing resources. Like, these are the same neighbors when we needed something. We would just go. My mom would be like, go over there and get an egg. Or her daughter would come over and ask my mom for sugar or milk or something like that, right? Community. We were watching out for each other. My mother knew that if she was running late, that the moms in the building were still kind of watching our apartment. It wasn't, oh, well, that's your problem. So I think that, and he has a definition here, a group of people living in the same place or having a particular characteristic in common, a feeling of fellowship with others as a result of sharing common attitudes, interests, and goals. So why, like, what does this have to do with a blended family, right? Well, in a blended family, it takes everybody. It takes everybody to make this family work. It's not just me and Tony, but it's me and the co-parents. It's me talking to them. It's me telling them when I need help, when something is not going well with one of the boys. So even now, like we said, I got a 26-year-old, and then I have the 17-year-old. And both of them are what make our family blended, right? Because I came into the marriage with these two boys. And now it's like you need people because you can't figure all this stuff out by yourself. So you have to be able to talk to people and include people into your circle, because the more people you talk to, the more resources that you have available, right? So if we can't pay for something and then we go to the co-parents and maybe they can't pay for it or give as much, we got to have some people that we can reach out to that will step up. But they can't step up if we act like we got it all together. They can't step up if we don't ever say, well, welcome back. If we don't say, hey, we need a little help. We need help. And so that's where the community come in. And I think a lot of times in blended families, we like to be on a little island and try to solve all our problems ourselves. And we just cannot do that. So I just read the definition. Sorry, he had to leave. For those who joined in late, he has bad sinuses, so he's back.
Sinuses, allergies, all that.
Right. So, did you want to go to that part?
To the
whatever you was doing with that.
Oh, okay. So Sunita probably already gave you the great definition of communities and how they work together. So, as a blended family, how do you create that strong community within your blended family? So we came up with some key strategies. We came up with some key strategies that could really help you to build a strong community within your family. So the first thing is, and it's very important to have this, is you must have a clear vision. So what does that mean? That means establishing when you're with Sunita, I were dating, and we were getting to the point of actually getting engaged, and then we went through the engagement process. We talked about what we want our marriage to look like, what we want our family to look like, what are some of the things that we want to achieve, and what are some of the things we want our family to stand on. When someone says the Mitchells, what do they see? What do they instantly think when they talk about us? So casting out a clear vision, and not only just for our marriage, but also for our children, making sure that our children know, hey, this is what we're trying to establish as a family. This is some of the things that we want to accomplish together as a whole, because it's not, yes, you're individuals, but it's all about the whole collective within your community.
Right.
Also, And then the second part, the second key strategy is set clear core values.
So do you have core values for your family? Like,
Yes.
explain what a core value is.
So a core value is basically anything that you would not compromise on from an integrity standpoint. So meaning a good core value is our family would not practice in anything that deals with taking advantage. Huh?
Good.
What
Go ahead.
what you
Just go ahead.
our family will not participate in anything that will degrade the name of Jesus Christ. That's a core
Right.
value. Something to the fact of our family would never practice anything that deals with stealing or hurting people. That's
Right.
another core value. So core values are those things that are characteristic. They're character builders. They establish who you are, what you will and what you will not compromise on.
Right.
So
So do your family have core values?
right.
Like, I mean, when Tony first started talking all this core value stuff, I was kind of like, this is not a business. Like, this is not work. We don't need to have, mission statement, vision statement, core values. Like, we're not running a business. But once he started explaining to me the importance of, yes, your family should have a vision. Yes, your family should have a mission. Yes, your family should have some core values, because those are the solid foundations. So that, remember, we always talk about, it's not just about you. It's not about just you and your spouse. This is, God has entrusted you with these children,
Yes.
whether they're yours biologically or not. God has entrusted you with them. And so this is all about the next generation and the next and the next generation. And so if we don't put things in place, then our children have nothing to stand on, because they don't know what they believe. And in this world today, you have got to know what you believe, what you stand on, how,
Yes.
and I don't mean like the extreme. Like, I know, like, back in the day, like, the parents used to be like, ain't none of my kids coming in here pregnant. If you pregnant,
Right.
you out. You know what I mean?
Right.
And for a lot of people, they really meant that, right? And when I became a teenage parent, and my mom had that conversation with me, I was scared. And that was one of the things that made me almost not tell her till, like, I was almost due, because I thought she was going to really put me out. And so, but had I known what her, like, I mean, even though she was saying it in a threatening way, I guess that was still her core value. But core values isn't meant to, like, make your children afraid.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So you don't want the extreme core value.
Yeah, you don't want that. Core values are meant to build you up. They're not meant to tear you down or
Right.
make you afraid to. If you break the core value, then you're going to suffer consequences.
And there
as a
should be
result.
consequences, but
It
not
should.
like where your kids should be
Extreme.
so frightened to come and talk to you and say, I made a mistake. Or if you make a mistake, you shouldn't be frightened to say, I've broken one of my own core values.
Right.
So number 3.
Number 3 is establish common goals and dreams for your marriage and family. And we already touched on this when we discussed the aspect of the vision.
Mm-hmm.
So there are goals, there are dreams that both the husband and spouse want to achieve together. But in this season where we're experiencing right now in our lives, Sunita has a whole lot of goals and dreams that she is working towards making them happen and implementing them. And in this same season, God is really working on me as far as patience and being understanding and providing feedback, and because this is when community comes into practice. You have to have a whole lot of supporters to help you to achieve these goals and objectives. Trying to achieve them by yourself,
Fall flat.
you'll fall flat, or you might accomplish them, but it might take a longer time to accomplish them because you got to constantly motivate yourself. And guess what? There are going to be times where you're not going to feel motivated.
Right. Or you doing it all by yourself, and by the time you do achieve it, you're so exhausted and tired because you've done everything on your own. And I have to be honest, like very transparent right now with Common, since he threw me out there with all my goals and all my dreams, right? So I can get something and like run with it, right? So this is a good example of community. Like I can be like, oh, I want to write this book. I want to start this business. Babe, I want to do real estate. I want to do like all these different things. And so the community has to say, well, Sunita, let's pause. Let's do one thing at a time, right? Let's birth this one thing that you were doing first, and let's get that going, and then we'll move on to the next. Or how does real estate tie into this one vision that you have, right? So you need to have the community to help you with your goals and your dreams, especially with your marriage, because you got to hold each other accountable. But let's be honest, sometimes we don't hold each other accountable because we're so connected. Sometimes we don't want to hurt the spouse by saying you're doing too much. And so who are the other people that can speak into your life and say, you need to pump your brakes a little bit, that you respect, right?
Right.
And, or, hey, you guys shared your vision about, your son's vision. He wants to do animation, but I haven't seen y'all do anything regarding birthing that vision or helping him to achieve the goal. Because again, we want to make sure that we're not just focusing on the husband and the wife, but your children have gifts, talents, things of interest. So you have to make sure you cultivate that and and share it so that other people will know. Well, when they see opportunities, they'll say, hey, I know your daughter or your son was interested in such and such activity, and I just saw an event.
Right.
Right? Are they available? I'll buy the ticket. Great. Okay, so that's why we're talking about community and resources, because you don't know everything. We don't know everything. We don't see everything. No. And so we have to be able to branch out and share these things with our community. Number 4.
And number 4 is be intentional and genuine in building relationships.
Ooh, that's good. Intentional and genuine.
Yes. So not only are you building a relationship between your spouse and building a relationship with your children, how about building a relationship with co-parent or co-parents? How about building relationships with the co-parents' parents? Or
if possible. Like we're not talking about the extreme where like it's totally toxic and it's not gonna work. But there are some relationships where you could possibly take your relationships and and I don't mean like you with the other person, but where we can expand it now. Okay, we're in a good place. Now let's try to work it out where we can do something with the co-parents' parents, like you're saying.
Right.
Right? Hey, it might take a while to be able to go on a vacation to Disney. We're not saying that, but baby steps.
Exactly.
Let's build it, because at the end of the day, those kids are going to go be with those grandparents, right? Exactly. So why not be in a place where all of us can be cordial and helpful? It is possible, but you got to be intentional and you got to be genuine, because when you're not genuine, it's going to show up.
Exactly.
People can smell fake. I know I can. That's fake.
Yes, people can smell it. And then kids can definitely tell whether you're real or you fake instantly, and then they'll tune you out. I know one of the things that really helped me in the process of really building the relationship between our 2 sons was really spending the time and being intentional with spending the time with them and genuinely showing an interest in some of the things that they wanted to accomplish, the goals and the dreams that they had. So that you got to be able to build, and we say build because my favorite toy of all time is Legos.
Yes.
The more you add to a Lego, the more you build something, and the more you add and add, you eventually get something that you really wanted. So definitely look at every single thing that you do as a building block.
Yeah.
Not building up walls, but building up something of a
I
masterpiece.
like that. Not building walls, but building a masterpiece. Because it's so easy to build a wall, but just like those Legos, walls can be broken.
Yes.
Right?
Chip away.
Chip away at the walls. Number 5, connect with like-minded families. We've said this quite a bit, who's in your community? Like, you got to be careful of who you're surrounding yourself with. Especially when it's a blended family, because not a lot of people can understand the elements of a blended family, right? So some people be like, well, that's not what I would do. Well, you're right, and that's why you're not in that situation, right? So some people, because there are situations that are different, because, again, we're dealing with multiple members of a family, and so some people don't understand it. Like, I'm just gonna cut off the co-parent altogether. Well, you can't. And they have this thing that's called oh my gosh, I'll come back to it. Nacho. That means that. So, say for example, if Keith and Daniel were acting up, there's a thing that nacho means not your kid, right? So that means that Tony takes the standoffish part. Like, I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to acknowledge. I'm not going to have any parts of your child. He would say your child for me. He'd be like, Sunita, I don't have nothing to do with your kids. That's your business, right? Because those not my kids. So nacho, just like that, not your kids. I think that is just so backwards. Ignorant. And so how is that building a community? I understand that some parents are just so, sometimes, like they say, you can't see the forest for the trees, so they just can't see. Like, if I couldn't see what Tony was saying, and after a while, he just might get frustrated. But why would you take a hands-off approach when you claim you want to build a relationship? Right. You cannot build a relationship by being unapproachable or walking off. Now, I know there are some teenagers and even some young kids that can be quite a handful to deal with. But I don't think that, and the reason why I say that is, would you do that to your own flesh and blood? Like, would you do that to a child you birthed? Like that, because children do stuff that you just don't like. But you don't be like, oh, well, I'm just going to act like I don't know you. I don't see you. I don't acknowledge you. I'm just going to walk through the house like you're not there. You wouldn't do that to, quote, unquote, your own blood child.
Exactly.
And so in essence, we're saying that that's okay to do that to another child just because they're not biologically connected to you.
Yeah, and, for me, coming in as the blended dad, I had to... I treated our sons as if they were my own. When you look at, just being connected in this whole nacho aspect, I think that is just stupid. But what if I came into the marriage with that mentality? Now, I'm saying all throughout the dating and the engagement process, hey, we're going to be a family, we're going to be one, and we're going to all be loving and blending together. And then all of a sudden we get married, then a situation comes up, and then I'm saying, hey, that's not my child.
Right.
You got to handle that. That is not my responsibility. How would that make Sunita feel? You always have to put yourself in the other person's shoes. Would you say that if the shoe was on the other foot? Would you say that, just like Sunita pointed out, if that was your child?
Right. And that's why with key number 5 of connecting with like-minded families, you have to be around people who have the same mindset, that have the same philosophy. You might not come to everything the same way, but you have to be around people who, one, believe in marriage and want to make marriage work, as opposed to being around people who are like, the first thing that happens, they're out the door. So you have to be around the right people who are going to help you keep your marriage together. So you had some things about, because we was talking about community and resources. So what are resources?
Well, resources could be anything that you feel brings value to you, anything that you feel is important, anything that you feel is essential. And it's not always money.
Right.
When we think about resources, the first thing we think about is money. It's not necessarily money. Resources could be very important people in your life.
Time.
Time. Time is such a valuable thing because we can never get time back.
You can't get time back.
You can't get time back. So those are just some examples of resources. So I had a question here. Who is our community of resources, or what's in our community that is a valuable resource to us? And I just listed a couple things. So when you think about the family, the community, you have the parents. The parents are a great resource. Grandparents,
Right.
you know, are a great resource. Co-parents, you have to look at them if you're in a situation where you can look at your co-parent as a valuable resource. Godparents, and then the church.
Godparents. So let's stick a pin right there. Godparents. For those who have godparents, you know, I didn't really understand godparents when I had my first son. So I was like 17. And it was just like, oh, yeah, you know, this is my best friend. She's a godmama. But as you get mature and older, you know, be prayerful about who you're making your godparents. You know, these are not, as we talked about, these resources are not just for birthday parties, you know, buying gifts, buying stuff, you know, Christmas, birthdays, you know, just because gifts. These are people who are actually supposed to stand in if something was to happen to you. So you're saying that these people are supposed to take over, or this person is supposed to stand up and be that parent for that child. So be very careful.
Yes.
Because if you're picking somebody who isn't like-minded like you are as regards to family and marriage, not saying that that godparent has to be married. That's not what I'm saying. But if they don't have the same belief system, they don't have the same like-minded, you have to make sure that those godparents, and the reason why I stopped on godparents, because those are the parents that you choose. You can't choose your grandma and your granddad. Those people were already chosen for you. But the godparents are people that you personally have selected. So these are role models for your children. So when you look at your godparents, are those people that you would want your children to be? You know, are they exemplifying characteristics? I'm not saying they got to be wealthy, they got to be, you know, but do they make sound decisions? Are they trustworthy? Are they consistent? Are they wishy-washy? Do they walk away when they mad at you? They don't talk to the kids? Like, so it's like, you got to make sure you choose correctly on that. And I don't know why I went on that, but let's just move on. The next one.
That's actually a good point.
Church.
And the church. So you get to the church. The church within itself is a community within itself. So you go to church, you worship with other families and so forth. And within the church, it's not the actual building that you go to. The church is all communities. It's all of us, all believers. So again, going back to connecting with like-minded families, you want to make sure that, hey, whoever you're linking up with shares not only the same belief values, just like Sanita said, that you have, but you also want to make sure that they're actually living what they're saying that they believe in. Because it's one thing to say you believe in something, it's another thing to actually live it out. So but the church is a great resource for you, your family as a community to link up with other families or communities and really build upon each other's relationships.
Yeah, that's good.
All right. So what's the key things to remember when it comes to resources? One, we must be good stewards of our resources. So meaning if we have great grandparents or parents, or we have great support systems, or we have great individuals who really pour into us and have accountability for us, we shouldn't take advantage of them.
Yeah, don't take people for granted.
Don't take them for granted. We have to show honor where honor is due. Make sure that you say thank you when people are able to help you, especially when it comes to circumstances that are beyond your control, and you need someone to suddenly step in and just help out in any situation that you're facing. Make sure that you acknowledge them. Make sure that you really just give them kudos for stepping in the gap.
And be genuine about it. You know what I mean? Just genuinely reach out to your community and just say thank you. Like, I think we really underestimate the power of the word thank you from a genuine perspective. Like, how many of you have received a phone call just out of the blue and someone says, thank you? You know, thank you for being you. You know, thank you for that phone call. You text me, and that just really meant something to me. And I think, you know, text messages are great, but it's something about a card with handwritten, you know, thank you in there that just really, really stands out. And I know that we, you know, in this, everybody pick up their phone and text and think that's great. Or now, you know, Facebook Messenger is just like the way people just connect. And that's fine. But no matter what, just say thank you. You know, I was thinking of you today. A simple somebody mail you a card, or maybe you send flowers, or maybe you send that person their favorite piece of candy or something, or you just say, hey, let's go to lunch, or let's just meet at the park and let's just go for a walk. Like, those little things goes back up to how we're building our community. Like, we can't always just be taken. We can't always just show up when we need something, but we need to be present even when it's not about us.
Right.
You know, do we support each other? Do we acknowledge each other? Because that's all about community. And yeah, we was talking about blended families, but this is really just about, I mean, how much stronger would our communities be if we denied ourselves, right? If we just being selfless. If we just, you know, hey, especially when people have experienced loss, and that's loss of a pregnancy, that's loss of a baby, that's loss of their spouse, their friend, their mother. Like, when we step up and just do something nice for someone else who may not be expecting it. Jay said, thanks goes a long way. Facebook post, like just the Facebook post, Instagram, like just something to acknowledge that person meant something to you. You know, you ain't gotta send no long full-page letter unless you led to do that. But you could just say it, you know. So as we close,
so the last
recap.
Just a recap. So we talked about community and resources, and going back to our quote that was mentioned earlier, it takes a village to raise a child, and that just kind of captures the whole essence of what a community is. So a community is a group of people living in the same place, having a particular same common attitudes, interests, and goals. We talked about key strategies to help build the community within your family. We talked about establishing a clear vision. We talked about having a clear set of core values. We talked about having common goals and dreams and supporting them within your marriage and your family. We talked about being intentional and genuine in building relationships. And the final key strategy, we must connect with other like-minded families.
And, you know, I was just thinking that today, as we're talking about community and touching other people, and you know, today was Nipsey Hussle's celebration of life. And when you look at, I mean, I've watched bits and pieces because I didn't realize that it was today. Up until the time that he, you know, was murdered, I didn't even know who he was. You know, and I think, you know, a lot of people probably didn't know who he was. But when you think of community, how he's impacted. Did he do everything right? No. You know, there's some things that I'm like, whoa. But when you look at the impact of community, when a community can come together and fill up an entire stadium. You know, thousands of people coming together because one person impacted lives, right? And no, we're talking about family, so maybe we'll never have the reach of thousands of people. But what I learned was consistency, like all the things you're talking about, him being intentional, him being genuine, him being able to connect with people who would challenge him and he challenged others, right? So that's just a powerful way of how when we give back to our community, right? So he went on and did all of this great work, did one album, you know, and what I took away from that is one person can truly make a difference.
Yes.
So maybe it's not on that grand scale of, you know, multi-million dollars or anything like that, but can we reach our communities the same way? Can we touch? All it takes is one person to change the entire environment, right? So are you that one person in your family that can change the whole trajectory of your family?
Right.
On how we're going to respond, how we're going to handle things, what we're going to do, what we're not going to do, what we're going to accept, what we're not going to accept. Are we going to be the catalyst for change in our families? Because that's really what it comes down to, because whether you are young or old, whether you have one child or two children or multiple children, we can all make a difference.
We can.
It starts with one.
It starts with one person standing and saying and declaring, just like you said, we're going to change how we look. We're going to change how we do things. We're going to change, period.
Right.
And when that one person stands up and declares that change, it becomes a fever. I mean, everyone wants to grasp to it. Everyone wants to be a part of change. Mm-hmm. Everyone wants to be a part of something good, right. Especially when it's something that truly meets what you actually believe in and what you want to actually implement as well. So when you, just thinking about Nipsey Hussle, and I just read his background, read his story, and how he was establishing so many businesses, how he was pouring back into the community where he actually was born and raised in, and just the way he helped so many people. He was one man, but look at all the lives that he impacted.
Right.
So never think and change.
Because, I mean, the neighborhood, he didn't leave the neighborhood, right? So it's like, it's not even about your environment. So when you think about a lot of, and you know, in that environment, I know I'm not from there at all, don't know anything about LA, but you know, from what I've read or whatever, it's not the best neighborhood, right? Or best environment, you know what I mean, for things going on. But you don't allow the toxicity of an environment influence you. You influence the environment. So it's the same way with your family. If in your blended family there are some toxic areas, you have to be the person who's going to say, although my area, my environment may be somewhat toxic, I can't bow down to the toxic environment. I have to go in there and change it and make it better and show people that there is a better way.
Yes.
Right? And so, and then lastly about him, like he didn't lose himself once he did bring about change. Because I think, you know, some of the things that happen in blended families are, because we talk about resources, when I come together with another spouse, sometimes my resources change. So especially if you kind of leveled up, you know what I mean? So somebody you marry is making more money, and so now, you know, you've leveled up, and then you kind of forget about when you were struggling, or you start to look down on co-parents who may not have, you know, been able to reach a certain level of success. So then you start looking at them a different way,
right.
You know, as opposed to saying, okay, let's see how we can still just partner together and make things work. So I just thought it was interesting. I mean, I just thought about it as you was talking about community, and then it dawned on me, like, dang, today was Nipsey Hussle's celebration of life. So
Yes.
we can all just make change in our marriages, in our families, in our communities, just by being ourselves and being genuine and being intentional about the change that we want to see.
Yes.
Right? So with that, we are at our time. It goes by so fast.
It does.
It goes by super fast. And we just truly, genuinely thank you for joining us because, you know, it's a Thursday night, it's 9 o'clock, you know, 10:15, and yeah, 9:15. You know, you could have been anywhere, but you chose to join us for this
Yes.
time, and we do not take that for granted.
No, we value you as a valuable resource.
Yes, and so you can catch us here every Thursday from 9:15 to 10:15. I am Sunita Mitchell.
And I'm Tony Mitchell, and we are the Perfect Family Blend.
Yep, this is In the Mix with the Mitchells, and we will see you next week.
All right. God bless. Take care. Be safe.
Thank you.